Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dave Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Only Football NFL Breakfast Club. This morning, we're going to be talking about some of the biggest stories that have happened over week 7 in the NFL. We're going to talk about Mike Evans breaking his clavicle on Monday Night Football, the return of Brandon Graham in Philly, and are the Cowboys a legitimate contender for the Super Bowl because they just wiped the floor with the Commanders? We're going to be talking about all that and more here on NFL Breakfast Club. Let's get it. America is football. Football is America.
Football is America. And if you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass. This is a moment in time. I don't give a damn. Oh my God.
No.
You loved it.
30 to 27.
Oh!
Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Breakfast Club. I'm Kyle, and that's Rick.
I think that's Kyle.
And wow, what a week 7. I can't believe it. There's only 11 games left this year.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
And it's going to be, it's getting to the point where it's going to be really important. And I went back last night, actually, and I showed your prediction of the AFC East for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say it's going to be fun to revisit some things. Let's start with some unfortunate news. Tough night for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Now, outside of what we're going to talk about, and that's Mike Evans' broken clavicle, it was just a rough day all around. I couldn't stream the very beginning of this game, but when I came up and started the stream, it was halftime, and I saw Baker Mayfield was averaging 1 yard per completion.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? MVP Baker Mayfield? And yeah, man, like he couldn't do anything yesterday. And Mike Evans was hurt, but we've seen this team overcome, things like that. Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin. That's why Baker Mayfield's been the front runner, is because even though they dealt with all these different injuries, you could count on Baker to play a competitive game. He was inaccurate. He was not there. It was like, I don't know, his aura was gone. It's just one game. And maybe it's the Mike Evans injury. And it was like not having him on the field, but the emotional kind of feelings that come with seeing your best wide receiver, in pain like that on the field. I don't know what to chalk it up to, but I would say, like, if you're a Tampa Bay fan, it's like, I'm not worried. It's just one game. I'm worried about what I saw last night for Tampa Bay. What did you think?
I was kind of thinking the same thing, man. We had a poll, and we try to do this every week for like the primetime games about who's going to win, and the votes seem to be overwhelmingly going towards Tampa Bay. And I thought this was going to be a much closer game than it ended up being, and it just seemed like the Bucs were not able to do much during that game. To lose Mike Evans too, you're down 2 score, you throw him a deep pass with how consistent he's been. I would be worried as well if if you're a Bucs fan, because the Bucs have been injured like all season and yet somehow continue to be putting up really good games and winning these games too. But with Mike Evans, he's only played in 4 games this year. You put a lot of pressure on Ibuka, which he's been doing stellar, and Sterling Shepard and Tez Johnson. And like you said it too, Baker can probably get all this done with those guys, but losing Mike Evans, this kind of early sort of middle of the season ish, it's rough because you saw what the Bucs were lacking last night in the game, and you look at a guy like Mike Evans to be the veteran, the guy who's going to come down with the ball. I mean, he had 11 straight seasons of 1,000 yards receiving. That streak's probably going to be, is going to be broken this year. It's just a tough loss for the Bucs in a season so far that looks very promising towards not only another division title, but maybe a deep playoff run. So it really did suck to hear and see what happened to Mike Evans, because that guy is just a true vet, true professional. And like you said, man, it's worrying to be a Bucs fan right now, worrying about your team and like what's going to happen moving forward from this Monday night loss and the injury to Mike Evans.
Yeah. And I think the worry is not so much like, oh, we're going to stink now. It's like, it's the Tampa Bay Bucs were on everybody's number one. And I'm going to call this out right now.
Yeah.
If you're doing power rankings and you take a team to be number one and then you don't bet on that team to win, that is not your number one team. I want to make this clear. If you say Tampa Bay is the best team in the NFL and then come predictions, you go, I got the Lions winning. The Lions are your number one team. Okay? Yeah. Because this was all around the NFL. Every power ranking has Tampa Bay at number one, and the Lions were the consensus favorite going into last week. And no one felt like they could put the Lions at one because of their loss to the Chiefs. It's ridiculous. Get away from the week-to-week reactions. We're doing a power ranking. We're evaluating the overall team in all things considered. You don't just go, well, the Bucs are the one of the only 5-1 teams left. They have to be number one. No, they don't. Let me free you from this burden. The best record does not have to be number one. I want to free you from that. You can just put the best team there, regardless. Yeah. Like maybe that's the Chiefs for you this week. I wouldn't be mad at it. Like I'm not.
Yes, he would.
I'm not a Chiefs fan, but the Chiefs have averaged 15th in points per game the last 2 years. They're 6th right now. They look like the closer version of what we haven't seen them play this good in 2 years is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, like no, I wouldn't be mad at that. But if you just go off record, you're like, I can't put them in the top 5. They lost 3 games. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like
that's how it goes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So that's just a side note. But yes, with 5 minutes left in the first half, he stretches out for a deep ball, and it looked like a potential big gain. Came down awkwardly though, and on his right shoulder, broken clavicle. And it's sad. You mentioned the record being broken. Yeah, 11 straight seasons of 1,000 yards receiving. It's incredible stuff.
Yeah.
I did feel like this was going to be a bad year for him. I drafted him and I traded him before the season started because I'm like,
oh, wow.
I saw an interview with him right before training camp started, and he was kind of giving the reporter, like, I don't want to say attitude, but they were like, how do you feel? Like, what did you do this offseason to get your body ready? And he was just like, I do the same thing every offseason. Like, just very, like,
very stoic.
Yeah, and I was thinking, Mike's like done with the the show. Like, oh, let me dress this up for the media. He's like done with that. He's just like, I don't even want to talk to you guys. Like, what do you want to know? Like, what I ate this off season? I eat the same thing. I go to the same, and just like, I'm a professional athlete. I do the same thing every day. There's nothing new to report. I had another kid. Like, there's nothing. And I thought, like, beyond, the surface, I don't know if Mike really is enjoying this, is what I thought. And
good point.
It made me think that he was, maybe closer to retirement. And this is not a sport that you can half-heartedly be in. Like, you have to be fully invested or you will get hurt. Now, I'm not suggesting that's why you got hurt. I'm just saying, like, I just felt like this year was different of all the other years Mike Evans has played. I've never really heard him sound and talk the way he did going into this year. For what it's worth, it could be a coincidence. I don't know, but
I agree though. Like I think sports at the most professional level, NFL being the top, right? Like you can't half-heartedly go into this. And I remember listening to a podcast, and they always ask like, "Hey, you won a championship, you won an MVP. Like what did you do in order to be that great?" And there's a lot of players, teams that say the same thing. And it's like, dude, being a champion or working up to be a champion is boring. It is working out. It is stretching. It is eating right. It is not going out late at night. It is studying the playbook, plays, film. He's like, being good or playing at a really high level is boring. And that's probably what you saw from Mike Evans, right? Is like, I do the same thing. I do this, I do that, blah, 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 blah. It's just, it's so funny that you had mentioned that, because I was like, that's what people who operate at the highest level do, is the stuff that no one wants to do. And that's why they're where they're at. We just talked about the 11 straight seasons of 1,000 yards receiving for Mike Evans, and how, seeing him being carted off, it just looks like all the things that he does per season. And yes, he's won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, which is great for him, because I'm sure for the longest time he didn't know if he was going to win one. But it's just all that work you put into it is just, when it goes out the window like that, when you're on your first game back from injury on a hamstring, is like you're injured again and you're missing most of the rest of the season. It just looks like such a terrible way to go out, and we've seen it before, but seeing it again, it's just so rough. And again, to Mike Evans, who is a workhorse and works really hard to do what he's done, it's just so sad to see. And I hope, he's able to kind of at least come back for the last couple games or so of the season. And hopefully if the Bucs are, winning the division, going into the playoffs, he's there for those playoff moments again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I got a game ball. All right. We're giving out a game ball for the best performance of week 7. Now, I almost gave my game ball to Alex Singleton because on the interception that went to Justin Chernod, which gave Denver really the chance to win the game.
Yeah.
Alex Singleton was the free rusher, and none other than Cam Scatabo was responsible for picking up Alex Singleton. And Alex Singleton ran his ass clean over. If you love like football, you want to go see this play. It is just boom! Just two guys. What happens when an unstoppable force, meets an immovable object? Like Alex Singleton wins. I saw it, and it caused the interception. But Alex Singleton gave up like a 60-yard touchdown earlier in that game. So I cannot, unfortunately, give him the game ball, only an honorable mention. So my game ball is going to go to Christian McCaffrey.
Hey.
I was going to give it to Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, last night was incredible. I think he had 179 yards in the first half. But it's going to go to CMC because I feel like you could take Gibbs out of the Lions, and there's other things that they could do. CMC was the entire offense for the 49ers. Like, if you watch that game, you have a new respect for how CMC is playing football and how the 49ers are utilizing him. It was like Mac Jones wasn't throwing the ball, just handing it off to CMC. And George Kittle coming back. Like, he had no catches in this game. He had a massive impact. Like, you saw George Kittle getting pulled at the snap, coming inside and just going up and taking out a linebacker.
He loves doing that. He loves doing that.
He's a physical tight end, and him coming back, I mean, CMC was like, you saw he was getting 100 yards per game, but his average was like 3.2 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And they were giving him like 25, 27 carries. And now George Kittle's back, and he was averaging like over 5 a carry. And it's like, wow. I mean, it's not very often you can have a tight end that doesn't have a single catch. And you're like, yeah, that's a game changer right there. But that's what he adds to the running game. CMC had 72 yards receiving. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground. He had 129 rushing yards to put him over 200 yards of all purpose. And when the 49ers lose their receivers, Ricky Pearsall, Brock Purdy, on the defensive side of the ball, they have lost everybody that is meaningful. There's nobody on that defense that you know their name. Like, you don't. They are all just guys that have had to have that next man up opportunity. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but is there a more deserving coach for coach of the year than Kyle Shanahan right now? Like, the 49ers have lost everything. And they're not a team that is like hanging on as a potential contender. And that's normally the goal of a coach. When you lose everything, it's like, can you just keep your nose above water? No, the 49ers are in first place in their division. Like, they just beat the Rams a couple weeks ago, and they are doing it all without anything. And they're doing it because of Christian McCaffrey, especially. So I got to give CMC my game ball this week.
Yeah, dude, he was insane. 24 carries, 129 yards. That's good for a 5.4 average and 2 touchdowns rushing. And then on top of that, 7 receptions, 72 yards, more than 10 yards per catch.
That's 30 touches.
Dude, it's insane. And one of the things that we were talking about was like how you said it was CMC is the offense right now for San Francisco. And Brock Purdy was out. Mac Jones came back and wasn't looking like the Mac Jones that we saw from his first start with San Francisco, where we were like, oh my God, like he's putting on the backpack in front of players, getting up from a hit. Like Mac Jones was looking good those first couple starts. And then, like you said, like he wasn't able to complete passes. The passing game just wasn't getting going outside of McCaffrey, and McCaffrey is doing it all. I do want to say though, Jahmyr Gibbs, man, and it's a toss-up between these two. I think if you give the game ball to one or the other, you're right. But Jahmyr Gibbs, let's talk about his stuff too. 17 carries, 136 yards, about an 8-yard average, 2 touchdowns as well on the ground. And then he had 3 receptions, 82 yards for a long of a 30-yard reception. Like we're seeing these running backs who not only are bell cows, but are also doing a lot in the passing game, which it reminds me of when the Bears had Matt Forte. Is like Matt Forte could do it all, man. He could run the ball. He could, run a fade route in the end zone and, in the corner of the end zone and catch that. That's what these guys are doing. Your McCaffreys, your Jahmyr Gibbs, your Jonathan Taylors, your Saquons from last year, right? Like these guys are able to do it all. But Jahmyr Gibbs and CMC, like in prime time games, they are putting it all out there. And Jahmyr Gibbs is looking like one of the best backs in the league, along with CMC, along with Bijan, along with a lot of these other guys, Jonathan Taylor, like I mentioned earlier. But man, they had a couple, they had some games, these guys. But if you're going to give it a CMC, I'm going to give a game ball to Gibbs because yes, last night against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who, have a really good team defensively, offensively, like he showed out, especially after Detroit, loses against the Chiefs in primetime last week. And, you had the whole Brian Branch thing. I think they came back even stronger at home and we're like, look, we're still the same old Lions and we're still going to dominate. But you can't go wrong with giving the game ball to either of these guys.
It's massive what the Lions did last night. And
yeah,
before we fully turn that page, I just want to put it out there. Kirby Joseph, Terrion Arnold, Avonte Maddox. That's 3 defensive backs, 3 of their top defensive backs that the Lions were without. Ooh. Then Brian Branch, like you said, with the suspension, they lost a 4th defensive back because of the suspension. So the Lions went out there missing 4 of their top defensive backs. Rocky Sin exited the game because of cramps in the second half. And that's 5 players that they're without on the defensive side. And you had guys like Eric Howlett, Amik Robertson, Arthur Mollett, these guys that are just backups, but they stepped up and had standout performances. That's coaching. That is coaching 101. And if you look at the team that just lost both their coordinators, Philly did it twice. They did it.
Yeah.
And look how they look the following year. Look how Detroit looks this year.
Yeah.
It looks like they didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
That is incredible what they've been able to do. And you can't even say, well, it's because of all the players. They're missing all of them on defense.
Yeah.
They were missing all of them. And then it's the same thing for the Bucs, like the Mike Evans. And this is why I was like, you don't have to put the Tampa Bay at 1 because of the record. Because, look, it was 4 weeks in a row that we saw a last-minute comeback from Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. Like, the record was impressive, but it's the same thing with the Chiefs. Like, they were 13-0 in one-score games. Okay, not going to happen again. Okay, so if Tampa Bay has 4 straight last-minute victories, logic tells you they're going to start losing some games. The ball's not going to bounce their way every single time.
Yeah,
and the loss of Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, defensive tackle Kalaya Cansey, like this stuff is starting to add up, and it was just too much for Baker Mayfield to put on his shoulders for this.
Yeah.
And it finally caught up because the Lions are the type of team that they were going to exploit that. And the Lions had their own issues, but the Lions were able to overcome it. And that's a lot because of how Jahmyr Gibbs played. So I have no problem with that game ball.
Yeah, 100%. And again, he showed out last night, and the Lions, again, going through injuries this season. And like you said, still coming out on top and dominating.
All right, we got a return. Everyone loves a good comeback story or a homecoming. The Philadelphia Eagles are bringing Brandon Graham back to Philly. If you guys don't know who Brandon Graham is, I don't know how. Okay, Brandon Graham is one of the most knowable guys in the NFL. I mean, it's like Tom Brady, Brandon Graham. I'm just kidding. I was not myself. I was not well versed on the Brandon Graham thing, but
I was like, how long is he going to go with this?
The NFL did put this on like their front page, so it's a big story. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and he only had a 7-month break, and now he's clocking back in. Ian Rappaport reported this on Tuesday. So he is 37 years old. He is aiming to add depth to a deprived Eagles defensive line. Philly's 5-2, but they've only registered 11 sacks through 7 games, which is tied for 26. Look, pick any category, and the Eagles are 26 or worse. Passing, rushing attempts, like it doesn't matter. Sacks. What do the Eagles do well right now? I mean, it is, and we're going to talk about that later, but Graham, he retired in March, concluding a 15-year career. So he has been in the league for a very long time.
Yeah.
He was a part of the 2 Super Bowl victories in 2020 and the one last year, and he produced 76 sacks and 487 tackles. So look, he was a depth piece for the last 15 years, and he's coming back to be a depth piece. When he retired, Graham's exit wasn't the only one along Philly's defensive front. They lost Josh Sweat and Milton Williams to free agency, and the Eagles have seen Nolan Smith placed on injured reserve. somebody that they drafted in the same draft class as Jalen Carter, who's going to be missing some time with a heel injury, and pass rusher Aziz Aluriai is dealing with. I can never say that name.
Ojulari.
Ojulari. It's actually not that hard now that you said it. But anyway,
we don't do names here.
Yeah, we don't. And he's dealing with a knee injury. So I think like the plan for him walking out is like, okay, all these young bucks are going to take that next step. Well, all these young bucks are gone. And they probably gave him a call and was like, dude, are you in football shape? Because we really need some help. We're not getting sacks and all the guys are gone or hurt. And he was like, yo, I'm not ready to hang up the cleats anyway. I don't know how much of a boost he can provide given his age, how long he's been away, but it looks like the Eagles aren't in a, beggars can't be choosy. They're not in a situation where they can pick and choose the kind of guy that they're getting back. They just are hoping in one hand, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and like you said, this is very much like a depth piece right now. You talked about Nolan Smith being out, same one they brought in with Jalen Carter. Their edge rushers are really, really struggling right now. And on top of that, Zadarius Smith, who they had brought in during the offseason, retired. Just, what was it, last week or something like that? Week 6, I believe. He announced his retirement after playing 5 games. He had 1.5 sacks with the Eagles. Yeah, and you mentioned it. The Eagles right now, 29th in sack percentage, 26th in sacks with only 11, which the Bears aren't probably far behind, or they're probably at the same level. So this is a team that defensively last year we were talking about, or, over the last couple of years, one of the better defenses in the NFL, and their inability to get to the quarterback has been an issue, clearly, as you can see by the numbers and by the amount of games that they've been very close in. So bringing in Brandon Graham after he retired back in March is not only like a depth piece, but Zadarius Smith retired, your sack numbers look bad. And while he's 37, like, I don't know if he's going to have like a 10 sack season, right, for the remaining 10 games or whatever, but he adds the veteran leadership in the locker room. And again, at least you can bring some pressure with Brandon Graham, possibly get those sack numbers up, because those are rookie numbers, Eagles. Those are some rookie numbers. You got to pump those numbers up. So, coming out of retirement, he said himself that he didn't necessarily want to retire in March. He made that decision just kind of like, seeing what the NFL landscape or the Eagles landscape looked like. And he's like, you know what, maybe it is time, but he didn't want to. So he's coming back after talking with Howie Roseman, him and his agent, and talks for a little bit. And he's coming back to hopefully give a boost to this defense in terms of putting pressure on the quarterback and actually sacking the quarterback. I don't know how much of an impact he's going to make. We're going to have to see what he does in his first game, which it looks like he is slated to play this week, coming up week 8. But again, we'll see where his explosiveness is at, what kind of pressure he can put on. And again, hopefully he's not one of the next defensive edges for Philly that goes on the injury report. But he's expected to play this week and get right back to work.
Yeah, and expect that crowd to go crazy when he gets his first sack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rick, I want you to close your eyes for a minute.
Okay, closed.
If I told you I'm a genie in a bottle, and I can only tell you 2 things about the Broncos-Giants game. We haven't seen the game play yet, okay?
Okay.
The first thing I can tell you is that the Broncos are trailing 19-0 going into the 4th quarter.
Okay.
The second thing I can tell you is that although the Giants score in every single quarter, they will score more points in the 4th quarter than in any other quarter in this game.
Okay.
And the third thing is that the Broncos will win.
I would say you're a fucking liar, Kyle. I would say you are a lying liar.
Yeah, I would too. 19-0 going in the 4th. That's like, okay, then you start the 4th. The Giants score more points in the 4th quarter than any of their other quarters, and they lose. That's because the Broncos outscored the Giants 33-13 in the final 15 minutes. There was 46 points scored in the fourth quarter.
Crazy.
The 33 points scored by the Broncos in the fourth quarter set an NFL record by most points by a team that had been shut out for the first three quarters. It's never happened. History. The NFL history. I love that anytime. It doesn't have to be Broncos. It could be anybody. Wow, that's never happened. Okay, that's cool. We get to see something that has never happened before. And we were streaming that live. Actually, I have a clip this clip was sent to me by my brother. I have not watched it yet.
Let's do it.
Okay, so here it is. I'll click it right now. I hope it's good.
And the Broncos have taken the lead. Down 19 points in the fourth quarter, and they are winning 29-26, an extra point away from making it a 4-point game. And the Broncos have come back from 19 points, the greatest comeback I've seen in my life. The greatest comeback of my entire life. If the extra point goes through and the Broncos can hold. Snap, hold, kick is good. 4-point game. Denver scores 30 points. Wow! Oh! This is the greatest fourth quarter I've ever seen. And for Bo Nix.
I love hearing Brother T in the background, just like Jesus, like laughing. Is that the greatest I couldn't tell from the video, Kyle, but was that the greatest comeback you've ever seen for the Broncos?
Never see it. And the closest thing to it, plug your ears, Jinja, was when I streamed the Colts Vikings game. And
yes.
I was telling everybody at halftime, like, the Vikings can come back and win this game. And it seems like an insurmountable number. And yet they did come back and win. And also, when I said, and yet, they weren't the only team that week to do it. You may not remember this, but Tampa Bay was playing, I believe, against Cincinnati Bengals that same week. And Tampa Bay ended up scoring 33 unanswered points. So they weren't down 33, but if they were, they would have been able to come back as well. We do see 33 unanswered points all the time. What makes it unique is when you have been shut out the entire game.
Yeah.
And then the fourth quarter, you're able to score 33, not in a whole half, but in one quarter. It was actually like, in the first place that people go to with this game, if you're not a fan of either team, is like, what does it say about the Broncos? What does it say about the Giants? What do we do with this? I mean, on one hand, like, there's no moral victory, but there is with the Giants. This is a type of year where anytime you can play a game and find out you have a franchise quarterback, how is that not a moral victory? And how is Jackson Dart not a franchise quarterback the way he played on the road in Denver? So I think that's an immediate takeaway for me. But then on the other side, and I don't want to get superstitious, but I believe that Demaryius Thomas's spirit was the reason they came back.
You can't not look, hear that and be like, no way. Like that, they kept panning to his parents. The 88 on the field, like it was awesome. So I get you
saying too, like, we don't want there to be kind of a dark cloud over this day, and it was like watching it happen. There used to be a term for this, and it was called Mile High Magic. And it was like, things like this just happen in Mile High. Records get broken. Insane comebacks happen. And it was always called Mile High Magic. And we haven't seen Mile High Magic in a decade. The last time we saw Mile High Magic was when, we made it to the Super Bowl that year. And that team was being honored. And they were standing on the field for this game. right next to the players. They have a field pass. They're sitting there watching, and we're like, it was just like everything was perfect. You know, it was like it was just the perfect scenario. It was like when I was lucky enough to be honored on the field, and the flyover was a PA. You know,
Oh, that's so sick.
and it was just like, you don't get a lot of moments in life where you're like, everything is exactly the way it should be right now. And when the Broncos made that kick, it was like, this is exactly the way this was supposed to go. And man, it was a crazy game. But outside of like a fan's point of view, like how, as an outsider, how insane was this? When are you like checking the box score and seeing like, oh my God, they're getting killed. And then all of a sudden it's like Denver, like God forbid you walked away for 15 minutes. It was 19-0 and you come back and Denver won 33, like
32.
What happened?
Yep.
What did you think?
And I wasn't on the stream for that, but I was watching it on Red Zone, and it goes to the fourth quarter, like you said, 19-0, Giants are up. Then the Broncos score a touchdown, go for 2, get it. It's 19-8. And then with 6 minutes left, something like that, the Giants are up 26-8. And I was like, in my head, I was like, well, you know, the Broncos scored a touchdown. You know, I don't think they're going to come back from this. The Giants defense is good. I can definitely see the Giants being able to run out a ton of clock if they get the ball back after this score. And then it just keeps going back to the Broncos game. A touchdown, another touchdown, a missed extra point by the kicker for the Giants. They can't move the ball and get a first down. Give it back to the Broncos, or however it is that it happened. They go down the field, get in scoring position for a field goal to win it, kick the field goal, and it goes through, and that's how you guys win it with 3 seconds left. I was like, this is literally crazy. Like the fact that all of the Broncos points were scored in the fourth quarter, and it was 26-8 with 6 minutes left. I can't fathom that type of comeback, because even the Vikings and the Colts, like that was over a half that they came back. The Broncos did it in, let's be realistic, 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. They did it with 6 minutes left. And this is kind of what we've been talking about since the playoff game last season with the Broncos, is that Bo Nix is going to hit his guys and do whatever he needs to do to get the Broncos in a winning position or to win the game. He had 2 rushing scores. He had 2 passing touchdowns. He was all over the place, man. Like his eyes were downfield. He kept throwing good strikes. The receivers, you know, I feel like a big complaint for Broncos fans have been like receivers dropping balls and just accuracy issues. For some throws, they all came through because they knew, 1, you guys have the offense to win it. 2, it's Demaryius Thomas Day. It's DT Day. You got the 88 on the field. You got his parents in the suite. We have to win this one because we want to do it for him and his family. And look what happened. But this was an insane comeback. It was crazy.
And they were only the second team in NFL history to trail 18 points in the final 6 minutes and win that game. And I don't have it in front of me, but I believe the other team is the Colts against Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football.
Wow.
Because I remember Manning telling a story of getting on the plane and all of his text messages were, "You'll get them next time." And he's like, I can tell they turned the TV off.
Yeah.
Because we won. Again, we ended up going into overtime and they won in overtime. If you haven't seen that game, go back and watch it. Colts, Tampa Bay Monday night. But this, what was interesting was when they scored, of course, you're thinking, we got to get a stop, right? And Denver's defense has them backed up. It's 3rd and 19. The pressure's coming. The ball gets deflected into the air. And for some reason, it bounces into the hands of a player, and a Giants player. I think it was Theo Johnson, and he runs for a 50-yard touchdown. And that was like, oh my God, like it just took away our last touchdown.
Yep.
And you're
I remember the tight end one. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
All you can do is score. And that's what they did. They scored. And then that hit by Alex Singleton ends up getting us the ball back. And then Bo Nix runs it in. And it's like, boom. All of a sudden, we're only down, or actually, we're up. We're winning now.
Yeah.
And then Jackson Dart gets the ball. We're up 4. And it's funny because where that was clipped, I felt like we won. We would go on to lose after that moment right there that I showed you. See, that moment was when Denver made the extra point to take a 4-point lead. And I'm like, we're not giving up a touchdown in 1 minute.
Yeah.
And we did. We gave up because it was incompletion. Then they had a holding. It was 4th and 19. And it's like the game's ends on this play. The Giants picked up 18 yards. They called it a first down, but we would have challenged it because there's no way it was. But then there was a roughing the passer, so it didn't matter. They get the first down. Then they call Riley Moss on a very questionable pass interference in the end zone, and it puts it on the 1-yard line.
Yeah.
Sean Payton's so pissed about this call that he storms onto the field. And the crazy thing is this penalty on Sean Payton, unsportsmanlike conduct, won us the game because it took the Giants from the 2-yard line to the 1-yard line. Yeah. And then they run the QB sneak with Dart. He gets exactly 1 yard. And on slow motion, they go, nope, that's a touchdown. So no time essentially comes off the clock.
Yeah.
If they were on the 2-yard line, they would have been on the 1-yard line. Another 30 seconds, 20 seconds comes off the clock. Denver gets the ball with 10 seconds. Instead, Denver gets the ball back with almost an entire minute to get in field goal range. So the Sean Payton coming onto the field and bitching about the call ends up being what saved us a minute. It's like there's so many weird moments in this game where you're like, wow, if that tipped ball goes that way, our first touchdown was a deflection and Troy Franklin caught it. Like we caught a deflection touchdown. The whole game was chaos.
The entire game was chaos. And I was like, I swear when they scored the 26 points, the Giants, again, with the 6 minutes or whatever left, I was like, yeah, that's it, and I've seen games like this.
Everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. I was that text message to Peyton Manning being like, hey, you'll get him next time. Right. So those were literally my thoughts. And again, just seeing the way that Bo Nix and the Broncos were able to come back was insane to me. And I was just thinking, like, how many teams could do this? 26-8, 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then you come back to win by 1 point, 33-32, right? Like how many teams can do this? And it's a very short list. Now, I want to kind of shift to the other sideline because this was an all-time meltdown by Dable and the Giants. Again, you're up 26-8 with 6 minutes left and you lose the game. That to me, and Dable's been so far the season has been really on a roller coaster. That to me is something that I think you get fired for. Like you go into Denver, you're up 19 points starting the fourth quarter, and you give up 33 points. What is it? Where's the yards? 291 yards of offense. And you took the lead with 1 minute left. Like that is an all-time fumble. Like to put it into football terms, that is an all-time fumble. I don't know what you think about what I just said, Kyle, but the way that Dable and this Giants organization has been for a while now, I think that should be the final nail in the coffin for Dable. They've been doing well, but they've been up and down all season. I don't know if you're good with that.
No, I'm not. Look, how good is Jackson Dart playing? And on top of that, Jackson Dart was not like, hey, everybody thought he was going to be an absolute hit. He's got talent. The kids call it Riz or Aura, whatever you want to call it. he has a swagger about him that makes the entire Giants feel like they have a chance to beat anybody. They hit on Scatterbo. The fans are into it. They're invested. Like the other New York team who we're talking about next, they don't have any of this. And you see, like, Dable's the reason that they have any of this stuff is because he was pounding the table saying, Jackson Dart's my guy. Jackson Dart's my guy. Look at how their offense has been playing, even against Denver's defense. If anything, the defensive coordinator needs to be fired for the Giants. And that's actually what I'm seeing. All Giants fans are like, he needs to go. He needs to go. But getting rid of the head coach just to keep Jackson Dart and then give him a new head coach, it gets like, okay, did you make it better or worse? You know, like, who are you bringing in? Are they going to be able to get this, what we're getting out of Jackson Dart now? Are we going to be, it feels like a gamble to me. It's like same thing with the Vikings getting rid of Sam Darnold, right? It's like, okay, you're getting rid of him because you believe in JJ, but at what point is like, do you just keep a good thing? You know, never try to out happy. And I feel like that's where the Giants are, where it's like, if anything, they need to address some things defensively with how they played in that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But I got to say, I do disagree because it looks like the Giants are playing above their level. Like what their expectations were, they are definitely outplaying those. And I think that's always the number one measure of coaching is like, what are they getting out of their players? Like when the Cowboys went on the road and beat the Commanders with backups, you know, I'm like, okay, so McCarthy's got these guys playing good football still, even with nothing to play for. They were eliminated from the playoffs. That's coaching.
Yeah.
I feel like this Giants team had every reason to just be like, yeah, this season's over. And they look like they're playing a playoff game every week. I feel like that's coaching.
And that's fair, but and one of the biggest things about like talking about firing coaches, like, well, who's going to be there in term, right? And it's happened before, and it's going to continue to happen. Is like, is this necessarily the better move? I just think that, man, just overall in what Dable's done as his career in New York has just been like, there's definitely like moments, you know, first year with Daniel Jones where you're like, see what he can do. But then it's everything after that up to this point with Jackson Dart. It was like, what are you doing? You know, like what is this organization exactly going to? So I think that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I definitely see your point in saying like, but he's done enough to really warrant like him staying with Jackson Dart right now.
Yeah, I think, and also like, if you fire him and bring someone in, you're the season's over. You're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So this season arguably is already a trial year. So I think let's just see what Dable can do with the rest of this year.
For sure.
You know, let's see how good this team looks in December.
Yeah.
Because they got some tough games in December, and we'll see how they look in them. On the other side, the other New York team, we're going to talk about the Jets because the Jets have, and we've kind of gone back and forth on Justin Fields, and I wrote about the Jets, and I decided I wanted to write once a week, like pick a subject and kind of write about it. And this is what I wrote about the New York Jets on Friday night. I called it a daily truth bomb. I'm a fan of this 0-6 coach in New York. Everyone's acting like Dan Campbell didn't have the Lions at 0-10-1 by week 13 in his first season. But thank God the fans in the front office stuck with him because he went on to build that culture from the ground up. Dan's first year, he ended 3 wins, 13 losses, and a tie. But by his second season, the Lions got to 9 wins, and they did it by knocking Green Bay out of the postseason in a must-win 18 game, finishing the season arguably as the hottest team in the league. But remember, the Lions had many gut punch losses in Campbell's first year. Week after week, the Lions Nation felt cursed. And with losses like week 3 against the Ravens with a 4th and 20 conversion to set up a Justin Tucker 66-yard field goal, it was hard for fans not to resort to here we go again. People mock the Broncos for beating the Jets by only 2 points, like they were supposed to steamroll them the way they did to the Bengals. But they somehow managed to forget the Jets also played tight games against the Steelers and Buccaneers, in which they lost by only 2 points. The Jets are competing in close games. It's only a matter of time before it clicks. Justin Fields might be the guy. Emphasis on the word might. If he is, this team's going to start winning. If Fields isn't the guy, how can you judge Aaron Glenn fairly when he's handcuffed to a struggling quarterback? Yeah. However, if Fields continues to underperform without showing progress, it is the coach's responsibility to make the tough call to bench him. A good coach knows when to pivot, and at the same time, fans need to be patient. The New York Jets have struggled to create a healthy team culture my entire life. It's probably the NFL's weakest. Look at guys like Sam Darnold, who didn't even look good until they left that dysfunctional organization and then became superstars. Look at Baker Mayfield with the Panthers and Browns compared to now. The Browns cycled through quarterbacks so frequently, they failed to recognize they were trading away the 2025 MVP. This is the consequence of organizations that habitually discard players and coaches after a single disappointing season without analyzing the underlying factors contributing to those struggles. Similarly, the Jets front office too often succumbs to pressure from fans and the relentless New York media. This leads to frequent coaching changes, inconsistent decision-making, and a vicious cycle of criticism that undermines the organization's stability. Strong ownership means giving fans what they need, not what they want. Right now, Aaron Glenn at the helm, the Jets need consistency and a robust culture to finally turn the franchise around. To clarify, my comparison of Baker Mayfield's situation was meant to parallel the Jets potentially parting ways with Aaron Glenn, not Justin Fields. But this is where I'm at with the Jets, their new coach, and the culture that they're trying to build. And when you're 0-6, 0-7, it doesn't get easy to not go fire the coach and let's start it all over again. Obviously, the first obvious move is Justin Fields. Justin Fields is 0-7, and he's not showing growth. And like I said, it is the head coach's job, if you're not excelling or showing progress in a new system, to pivot and not stick with that quarterback. But when is that time? When is enough enough? When is, you're out of rope? Like there's no more leeway. We can't go one more week. And they asked Aaron Glenn about this, and he resorted to saying, I'm not avoiding answering the question. The question was, when is it time to bench Justin Fields? Because he was benched in this last game.
Yep.
And the question was, is he going to be the starter next week or not? Now, he didn't want to answer it, but he said, it's not because I'm avoiding it. It's because I want to make some calls to other coaches and see how they handled, this situation when they were in it. Now, everybody is freaking out. I got no problem with a coach being vulnerable and honest in front of the microphone. Some people are like, oh, it shows weakness. I don't know. In my heart, if they don't win, in the next 2 years, like he's going to get fired, and it doesn't matter that he has a good heart. Nathaniel Hackett had a good heart. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that just being a good guy and having a good heart is enough. It's not. But I'm not going to punish somebody for saying, I'm going to reach out to other people that are more experienced in being a head coach, in navigating the tricky waters, which is what to do with these weird, fluid quarterback situations. Because it's not like there's a great answer. It's like you're doomed either way. Let's be real. If you go to this other guy, it's not going to get better. So why do we act like, there's a JJ McCarthy on the bench or something like that? There's not. So I don't know, why the people put so much pressure on these coaches. Like, what's your decision going to be? Why do you care? Honestly, it could come Sunday and you could just draw a name out of a hat. You're going to get the same shit. You know what I mean? I just don't see why they care so much. It's not like, whoa, this is a Lamar Jackson type, and here's a pocket quarterback. there's no, like, they do the same things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, where are you at with this whole thing? Because people are coming at Aaron Glenn in a very nasty way right now because they believe he is acting like he doesn't know what to do and he needs to call someone else to be told what to do.
I think that is what is the image that you see if you're a Jets fan. I totally get where you're coming from in terms of Aaron Glenn being a head coach, very first time. He's been a coordinator. He hasn't really had to face the media in the way that he's facing it now, right? Like he has to answer all the questions and he has to take responsibility for the entire operation, which is not something that he's done before because he's only been a coordinator. He's only had to focus on one part of the ball, right? And that's the defense with the Lions. But if you're a Jets fan, I can totally see why you're looking at this and being like, who did we hire exactly to lead this team, right? Because while I agree that there's nothing wrong with asking other coaches, talking to other people in the same job that you're doing right now because you're a first-time head coach, I just don't think that you shouldn't communicate that in public. Now, why? Because it's a lot of what we see, and this kind of goes against everything I really, truly to my core stand for, but your posture, in this case being a verbal posture, is very telling of how the crowd or how the fans, how whoever is going to react to you. So in this case, Aaron Glenn's like, I'm going to talk to other coaches and seek advice. What was it exactly? And then being able to ask other coaches that have been in this situation, how they handled that. That to me is looking like I have kind of like what you said. I have to be told what to do. So I'm going to ask other people in the same situation. And that's not the situation at all. He is literally asking for advice. And when you look at it in the sense of like a professional, just like not in the NFL, nothing, just like a professional, you looking at a mentor and asking for advice, right? It's like, that's Aaron Glenn kind of saying, hey, I may have a mentor, or I may be looking at other coaches to see what kind of input they can give me on handling the situation. I just don't think you need to communicate that with the media, especially the New York media. The New York media is like one of the worst. It's like New York, Chicago, LA, probably like Miami that we're seeing now, right? And we'll talk about them in a bit, but I just don't think that that posture is something you want to put out in the public. Now, at the end of the season, in this, let's say this very week 7, after week 7, Aaron Glenn goes with Tyrod Taylor or brings in another quarterback to compete with Justin Fields and benches Fields for the rest of the year, whatever. After the season, if there's some sort of turnaround or you see some sort of improvement with the Jets because of the decision that was made, after that, if Aaron Glenn's like, you know what, I reached out to some coaches. Okay, now it looks a little bit better in the public's eye or Jets fans' eye. But to say it in the middle of the shit and to basically say, I need to know what other coaches have done in this similar situation, I don't think it's a good look. Now, with Justin Fields, his performance, he said it himself. Hey, I wasn't surprised. Like, I was a little, and I don't want to misquote him, but he said something to the tune of, I was a little bit surprised, but I can't be mad at him because I played like crap. And he did. He played terribly. He's played terribly all season. Outside of the first game against the Steelers, he has been bad. And they give him $30 million guaranteed on a 2-year, $40 million deal. This isn't the type of play you were expecting from Justin Fields. Fantasy-wise, he runs the ball. He runs in for scores. He's probably a good fantasy option, but franchise quarterback, he is not. And that's why they brought in Tyrod Taylor. That's why he was benched the rest of the game. And that's why you have Aaron Glenn post-game interview up at the mic saying, I have to talk to other coaches to see how they handled this. And it's like, you could have talked to any Bears fan and they would have been like, Justin Fields isn't your guy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he had a 4-2 record with the Steelers, but that is a much different culture than what you're seeing with the Jets. So really all in all to say is like, I don't think Aaron Glenn should have said that in front of the mic, in front of New York media. And Justin Fields, he got his bag and he's going to get his bag, but he is not a franchise quarterback. He has had 5 seasons in the NFL, full seasons. We know who he is, and he is not a franchise quarterback. He's probably, I don't want to, he's a cool guy. I liked him when he came out of Ohio State for the Bears when they drafted him.
I wanted him over Surtain.
Exactly. And you were like, a couple of years ago, you're like, I'll take Fields off your hands, right, from the Bears. It's just, he's not a guy. He's not the guy. Maybe he could be like a Taysom Hill, but he's not the guy.
Can't develop, like Jaden Daniels was one of the first players ever to utilize the LSU technology where they put the VR headset on and you hold the football and you're reading different defenses in real time and you throw the ball where you would. And then real analytics tell you like that was cover 3. You got the check down. The backer was covering the flat. You made the right decision. And it was like, okay, so we're getting a little data on how does this new technology, and then Jaden comes in and it's like, okay, the technology good. It worked.
Yeah.
Look at Jaden.
Yeah.
Not so much this year, but like you just see a guy that athletic and you're like, is there not like, can they throw a VR on this guy? Can they get like, and then you think, okay, well, let's go through his coaches. Defense.
Mm-hmm.
He has never had a Kyle Shanahan, a Sean Payton, a McVay. He's never had a Liam Cohen, a Ben Johnson. He's never had an offensive guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what's holding him back more than anything is like these defense guys come in. They're like, I know how to dial up some nasty blitzes. And it's like, that's great. What about Fields? Can you help him progress? I can get pressure on the opposing quarterback. It's like, okay, but we need to elevate this guy. And I just feel like, I don't know, like maybe that's his next natural, because he's going to leave the Jets. It's not going to work. Okay.
And he might be one of those guys where, we're talking about your Tannehills, your Geno Smiths, your Bakers, your Darnolds, your Daniel Jones, where, like you said, if he goes to a mind like a Sean McVay, a Kyle Shanahan, a Kevin O'Connell,
Matthew Stafford's about to retire. Justin Fields is going to be available. Just saying.
Perfect. And these guys take chances on these guys. I mean, and Steichen even with Daniel Jones, right? Like Jim's just talking about him right now. Like this is a situation where people like me were saying, we know who this guy is after so many seasons. He's not going to improve. You got Daniel Jones playing like a fucking MVP. You got Sam Darnold getting paid by Seattle after having a really good season with the Vikings. Baker Mayfield has always been the guy, but it seemed like when he was in Carolina and that LA Rams transition, a lot of people I feel like gave up on him. And then look at him in Tampa, right? We already talked about Geno with the Seahawks and being like, Geno? Like what? Geno and Sam Darnold were both on the Jets and were both picked by the Jets, and they're having much better careers outside of it. And now Justin Fields obviously had a much better career, his very short career with the Steelers, but he may be one of those guys where we're looking at in a few years and being like, Sean McVay fixed him. Kyle Shanahan fixed him. Kevin O'Connell fixed him.
And the only difference with Daniel Jones is that Shane Steichen was like, wait a minute, unlike Justin Fields, who's never really put together like a great, look how good he was in this game. Like he was shredding the defense. He's had great games, but he ran for like 200 yards. Like I'm talking about like Daniel Jones had the playoff game where he went on the road in Minnesota and threw for like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he shredded their defense. And like Shane Steichen sitting back like, okay, but what happened in that game, right? Because now we know that guy exists. He's in there. Okay, obviously that's not the same guy we saw last year, but thankfully that exists on film, so we know that that's in there. Can we get that out of him? Justin Fields has never showed that guy's in there. You know what I mean?
He's had like in his Bears career that I can remember, he's had one very memorable game, and that was against the Dolphins. And some of the more that and the Commanders game on Thursday Night Football where he threw 3 touchdowns to DJ Moore. And a lot of that had to do with he was playing a very terrible defense, and he did a lot of that with his legs against Miami. Against Detroit, he did a lot with his legs, and it's like, how can you take that and incorporate it into being a mobile quarterback instead of just relying on your mobility to win games or to put the stats up? So again, can he be a candidate for, what we're going to call the Ryan Tannehill Award, which is like a quarterback who did not seem to be having a good career and then somehow got it back with another coach?
Yep.
There's a good possibility. He's got tools. It's just,
he's got to get smarter though.
Exactly. Like Daniel Jones had an MVP type season the first year with Dable. Baker took the Browns to the playoffs for the first time in forever, right? Like Sam Darnold was a number 1 overall pick, I believe, or like a top 10 pick in terms of quarterback, and had raw talent. Mac Jones went to the Pro Bowl and the playoffs, and now look at him in San Francisco, right? Like he's actually winning games and looking good in some of those. So is there a possibility? Sure. But personally, I don't see it, but there's always a possibility.
All right. Another quarterback struggling right now is Tua Tagovailoa. And we titled this Tua Little, Tua Late because, it seems like it's gotten to a point where even if Tua puts together a good game, it's still like Dolphin fans are done. They've officially seen enough. He has the most 2+ interception games in the NFL since 2022. He's done it 12 times where he's thrown multiple interceptions. Mike McDaniel telling Tua to get off the field after his 3rd interception against the Cleveland Browns. Things are starting to boil over in Miami. And, Tua publicly outs teammates after his last week loss, talking about, hey, these guys, I don't know if we need to make these mandatory, these player only meetings. And then you look this week, the offensive line didn't block for him. The culture is just abysmal. Like it is like players don't give a crap that Tua is back. Like, when Will Campbell was drafted and he was crying on stage and they were like, what, being able to block for Drake May, like, what does that mean to you? And he goes, with tears in his eyes, he goes, I will fight and die to protect him. Like, and you get chills listening to him because you're just like, wow, that is real. Real can go through the radio frequency waves of your television and hit you in your heart. And it just passes every barrier. And like, do the linemen for the Dolphins feel that way about Tua?
Fuck no. Hell no.
Do they feel that way about Mike McDaniels and keeping his job? Do they feel that? Does anybody care about anybody besides themselves on the Dolphins? I'm sure there's a couple guys that have good hearts that, are just unfortunately a product of everyone else's, like, yes, the overall is bad. There's a couple good, I don't want to just broad paintbrush that there's no like team players on the Dolphins. Cause that there's definitely going to be a couple of guys that are just victims of the situation. Like Devon Achane, a great running back doing his best. You've never heard anything bad get leaked about Devon Achane. So let's not just act like, everybody sucks. But unfortunately, it's a quarterback-driven league, and when your quarterback and your head coach are not on the same page, and they're both arguably competing for who's worse, like the product is just almost unwatchable. And against the Cleveland game, like I don't remember. I think we both. I picked bad. Cleveland. I think you picked Cleveland, and it's like that Cleveland beat them so easily. And keep in mind, like they were both 1-5 going into this game. And Cleveland looked like they were a 4-win team against the Dolphins. Like they did not look like, that's 2 1-win teams. One of these teams looked like a 1-win team. The other one looked like they should have a winning record. That's how bad of a team this Dolphins is right now.
And we know how bad the Browns have looked throughout the season. So for the Dolphins to put up 6 points against the Browns, which the Browns have a good defense, but teams have been able to beat them even with the good defense, right? Like we've seen the Browns lose quite a bit, even with their good defense.
Almost every game.
Almost every damn game. They got lucky against the Packers. With Tua, I don't know what the Dolphins are going to do because everyone clocked it. We clocked it prior to the season starting. We're like, Miami has bad vibes. There are bad vibes in Miami going into the season. We knew that there was bad vibes before the season started, and it's just a snowball of bad vibes growing in Miami, and it all starts with Tua and Mike McDaniel.
Yep.
I remember a couple of years ago, I said it on one of the streams where, when we were doing, I forget if we were doing a recap, whatever it was, but I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take for people to get tired of Mike McDaniel's shtick. And they're tired of it. They were tired of it before the season started. They were tired of it towards the end of the season last year. And now it's Tua that it's like, okay, we're tired of his stuff too, because both of these guys do not seem to, kind of what you said, care about anyone other than themselves. I know Mike McDaniel is a coach and he has to care about the entire functionality of that team. But this is similar to what Aaron Glenn did in front of the media on the mic, where he's talking, taking advice from a coach, and Mike McDaniel looks defeated after every game. Even during the games, he on the sidelines, he just looks defeated. He looks like a guy who's like, I know I'm going to get fired.
Yep.
But when's it coming? And Tua calling out his teammates, multiple interception games this season, and then gets benched against the Browns. I get Tyreek Hill's out. I get your offensive weapons aren't the best outside of Devon Achane. But as the quarterback, man, you've got to be able to do something to get rid of those, to stop those turnovers and to get more than 100 yards on 12 completions. Like, there's got to be something going on there. And it's going to be very difficult, in my opinion, for the Dolphins to get rid of Tua because of how much money they've already, given to him. But if the Dolphins do anything, I think they should look at what the Broncos did with Russ. What did the Broncos do with Russ? They cut ties with him as soon as they knew, or as soon as Sean knew, like, I just can't win with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't win with this guy.
Yeah, he can't run my offense. And
exactly.
You're right, and you're so right about this. Like the Mike McDaniel's comment you made about, like, he looks like a guy waiting to be fired. Like, if you go to his podium speeches after the game, he's like, he's kind of stuttering a lot.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm not picking on stuttering. That's a real condition. But I'm like, it is. Like, some people have a stutter, but it's not that. It's he's very like, this might sound hippie of me. He's bringing very low frequencies. You know what I mean? Like, you're a head coach. Like, when you, even on a loss, you got to go in there and you got to be like, hey, we didn't get it done tonight. I've been a part of a lot of, it happens now and then. You get a lopsided win, shake it off. We got a big game coming up. Like, you can't, even if you feel that way, you have to suppress that and not show weakness. Like, you need to be the strength. So when your team looks to you, they're like, well, he seems confident. I should be confident.
Yeah.
Like, and there's like a moment right before a divorce happens where somebody will say, like, oh, I want out of this relationship, whatever. But really, they just want to see if you're willing to fight for it. They just want to see, like, okay, if I do this, like, how much do you care? Do you care enough to fight to keep it? And it feels like, if Mike McDaniel, because he does look like a guy worried about being fired, if he cares at all about keeping this job, he needs to show and demonstrate that he's going to fight, to keep this job. Because right now, like you said, he looks like he's just waiting for the call. And the call is inevitably going to happen. It's a self-fulfilled prophecy by him. because he's not making the necessary body language and energy changes to bring those higher frequencies, those winning the winning habits to work every day. He just looks defeated. Nobody wants to play for a guy like that. Nobody wants to run through a wall. Dan Campbell, for whether you love him or hate him, everyone wants to run through a wall for this guy. Like everyone that comes near him's like, I will fight and die to protect this guy. And like Campbell's crying at the podium. Like, it's just hard, when you see how hard they try and he's crying and you're just like,
exactly.
Oh my God. Like, where is 1% of that? I mean, I think Dan Campbell probably sweats more passion for football than McDaniel has in his entire 75-pound body. And it's like, he just needs to bring something. Cause like, I'm not for him or against him, but like this whole, like, feel sorry for me shtick is getting annoying. You're
I
a
totally
head coach. Don't get sympathy from nobody. Like, get your shit together, show a little toughness.
I totally agree. And this is kind of how I feel about the whole Aaron Glenn situation is like, I understand that the NFL is looking at a coach like Dan Campbell and being like, look, that guy started terribly with a losing record. People were calling for his firing. I thought he was going to get fired as the beginning of his second season. But I don't see any of that from Aaron Glenn. I don't see the team improving. I don't really see Mike McDaniel, like you said, showing any type of passion about, you know what, we fucking lost. We got our ass kicked and we're not playing like we were playing 2 years ago or whatever it is when they went to the playoffs, right? Like, we are not at that level. And I totally understand that. And I've got to do better as a head coach, and I'm going to make sure to motivate my play. That's not what you see from Mike McDaniel. You see, like you're saying, some guy who goes up there and is already like, how much longer do I have? How much longer do I have? So I don't know what the outcome is going to be after this season, but I think the Dolphins have a huge decision to make after this year on Tua and on Mike McDaniel if he continues throughout the rest of the season. If I'm the Dolphins at this point, I can see that this duo isn't working out. We got to cut ties, whether that is just Mike McDaniel, whether that is both of these guys. But I need to make a decision, and I need to make it fast and decide what direction are we going in to right this ship and to get back into playoff contention. Because the Dolphins, when they got Mike McDaniel, it was exciting, and he was like a wonderkin in terms of offense, and yet the first couple seasons were magical, it seemed like, and then anything after that has just been downright terrible. So I don't know what decision they have to make, but they need to decide what they have to do quick.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why Mike McCarthy was fired, was because he was just a low frequency guy. They bring in a new coach in Schottenheimer, and we're going to talk about this right now, or Schottenheimer, because the Dallas Cowboys might be a good team, and it's really weird trying to gauge them right now, because I'll remind you, they have only wins before Sunday's game, right? Their only wins came against the Jets and the Giants in the Russell Wilson era, and they still gave up 37 points to that Russell Wilson. That was his best game in 5 years, and it happened against the Cowboys. Those are the only two games that they won, 37-40 to the Giants. And then they beat the Jets 22-37. Even the Jets getting 22 points. Like, they can't score a touchdown in the last couple of weeks, and they got like 3 of them. And then they tie against Green Bay, though. And then they lose to the Panthers last week, 30-27. But the Panthers might be better than we think. They lose to the Bears, 31-14. That's the only game where they actually got beat by, double their score, put it that way. Actually, no. Well, yeah, they beat the Commanders by double their score on Sunday, so it's the inverse of that. But that's essentially why the Cowboys are so difficult to judge, is because they have games where they lost by double the opponent's score. or double their score wouldn't even get them to the Bears 31. And then they beat the Commanders by double what the Commanders had by dropping 44 points, which they've scored 40 points now in 3 of their games. And they tied one of them and they got the win in the other 2, but they almost lost the other one because their defense is so bad. It's hard to know what do you do with this team. And they got the Broncos coming up, but then the Cardinals, the Raiders, and then that Eagles game. And it's like, even if the Broncos beat them, if they win their next 2, that Eagles game all of a sudden looks like it could be for first place. And then with the Commanders struggling, and then the data we have that 21, 22 years straight, no double champion, no back-to-back champion in this division.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, okay, so history tells you for whatever reason, Philly should not win this year. That's what the numbers tell you. But it's like, how can you trust this Cowboys team? Well, for starters, the kind of win they had against the Commanders, this is their trust meter is at an all-time high now because of how they beat the Commanders. But now they're going into Denver, and Denver is going to be wearing their throwback uniforms. So I don't know about that. We'll get to that later. But what do you make of the Dallas Cowboys?
They are one of those really weird teams where we're looking at them in the beginning of the season and we're just like, I don't see it. I don't really see anything that should tell me that they're going to be a good team or a playoff team this season, or even a contender for the division really at the end of it. I mean, we were probably going into week 3 or after the week 3 loss to the Bears being like, are the Giants going to be second or third in the division and the Cowboys last? And now they tied against Green Bay, put up 40 points. They beat the Jets with 37 points. They lose to Carolina 30-27. Okay, I get that. And then they double the score on the Commanders, 44-22, just this past Sunday. And now you're looking at the Dallas Cowboys and being like, wait, Dak is playing out of his mind.
Yep.
George Pickens is playing really well. Javonte Williams is running the ball well. And oh yeah, they got CeeDee Lamb back. This defense may not be one of those really good defenses in the league, but they held Jaden Daniels to, what was it, 100 and like something yards, 156 yards. The defense probably isn't going to be there the rest of the season unless they make some additions at the trade deadline. And that's assuming that they're buyers at the trade deadline. But I have a lot more hope for the Cowboys this year, and Cowboys fans probably do as well. Over the last 3 weeks or so, looking at the numbers Dak has put up, seeing how effective, oh my God, I just said his name, George Pickens has been, and the run game has been way better than expected. I'm feeling a lot more hopeful about the Cowboys moving forward. And Dak is like having a very low key MVP type of season. And this is what Dak does, man. Like, he puts up crazy numbers during the regular season, which is probably why they gave him the extension that they did. And a lot of us, we're just kind of like, well, yeah, but the playoffs, right? Who knows what the playoffs bring every year, but it seems like the Dallas Cowboys always lose big and embarrassing during the playoffs. But as of right now, you mentioned the division not going to the same person for 21, 22 years now, the same team. And the Cowboys are looking to disrupt that again this year. I thought the Eagles were going to win it again, and this would be the first time in however many years that they were going to have a repeat champ. But the Cowboys are putting in a real good case as to why they could be division winners, because the rest of the NFC East, the Eagles, the Giants, and the Commanders don't look, especially the Commanders and the Eagles, don't look like they did last year. They look very beatable. And Dallas, did that on Sunday against the Commanders. They beat them by a wide margin. So I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the Cowboys right now. It's just, is it sustainable, and can they win the division, and can their defense be better, right? Because if you lose to the Carolina Panthers, you're looking at that defense and being like, how? But again, we all got to see what happens during the trade deadline, which is in a couple weeks, and see if they make any moves worthwhile. And if they do, then that's how you know how serious they are about this year. But right now I'm looking at them and it's like, okay, they've got a chance, but they're not there yet.
This is going to be honest clickbait. Okay, I'm warning you right now, but it's honest. Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And I'm tired of acting like he's not just because he has his playoff issues or whatever the case is. It's not even close. If any other quarterback was playing like this, he would be the front runner for MVP and there would be no debate about it. The only reason that he's not is because he's Dak Prescott. Like you look in his last 4 games, he's 95 for 133. 1,081 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 126.8 passer rating. I mean, it's hard to even put that into context how good that is. Yeah. And then you look at his division record. Like, there's only one other quarterback that has dominated a division as close to how Dak has dominated his division. It's Mahomes. He has essentially the same record as Mahomes against the AFC West. And Dak has had to do it in a tough division. Like Mahomes did it when Denver was in a rebuild for the last 10 years. The Chargers were charging and the Raiders have always sucked. So it's like, I mean, it's way more impressive. Like the Eagles have 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years or 4-5 years, and they've gone to 3. So like Dak dominating this division is worth a lot more. You know, just to remind you, he's 7-0 now against the Commanders at home in his career. He's got 1,814 passing yards in those games. He's got 22 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on his career at home against the Commanders. 126.4 passer rating. Like, what Dak is doing right now is absolutely insane. 4 games, 13 touchdowns, no picks, even a rushing touchdown. 148 points for the Dallas Cowboys offensively in the last 4. I just feel like, what are we even doing here with the Dak like, imagine if Mahomes was doing this. He would be the front runner by minus 400 to win MVP. Dak Prescott's not even the favorite.
Yeah.
And they changed quarterback. They changed head coaches. And you talk about the Cowboys as a whole. Keep in mind, this defense is playing under a new coordinator. Maybe this scheme is starting to really take Vance Joseph, who everybody is like, yeah, he's one of the best in the league. Look at Denver's defense. They got 30 sacks. We gave up 70 in our 3rd game. Like,
he looked rough the first few games.
Yeah, it took time for the players to understand, you know, what if they were picking up what he's cooking, whatever you want to say. Like, this Cowboys defense, maybe their game against Commanders is just them starting to understand how this guy is, they're thinking too much, and now they're starting to play off instincts. If this defense can even come up to around 15th, the Cowboys are going to win their division, and they're going to win 85% of their games remaining because of the way Dak Prescott's playing. And the number one sign for an elite quarterback is that he makes regular wide receivers Hall of Famers. Everybody Manning played with is considered great. Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Demaryius Thomas,
Dallas Clark,
Brandon Stokely, go on and on.
Yeah.
So what happens? George Pickens, a guy that we're like, he's a Steeler wide receiver. None of those guys work out except for George Pickens, right? And what's the one thing George Pickens has that those other guys didn't have? Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just kind of tired of Dak Prescott being disrespected on the national stage because of whatever's gone on in the playoffs. You want to blame the playoffs, blame it on Micah. He didn't have a sack in any playoff games in his career. Like, how are you supposed to be the best defensive player in the NFL and you don't show up and get a sack on a playoff game? Like, that's crazy to me. And Dak Prescott is at least put up 40 points. How much points had the defense given up in these playoff games? Last time I checked, they're scoring like 35, 40 points a game, and when we blame Dak Prescott for that, it's kind of ridiculous. I think Dak is the MVP this year so far.
And over the last 4 games, he is 2-1-1. He has 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 1,200 yards passing.
That should be undefeated record.
It should be. And again, is the defense getting better after that Commanders? Well, I mean, obviously we're going to have to wait and see for week 8 and beyond, but I think it's a good start, right? And defense coordinator is Matt Eberflus. couldn't cut it as a head coach, right? But his defense, as a defensive coordinator, I think he's much, much better. But he does run a defense, I believe, that is kind of like played out, and a lot of offenses have figured out. I forget exactly which defense it is, but it's very much it's very zone heavy. But Dak Prescott, again, is really the reason why the Cowboys are where they're at right now. Again, 2-1-1 in the last 4, 0 turnovers on his end in terms of interceptions, at least. I'm not sure if he's fumbled the ball at all, but like you said, if this is Pat Mahomes, if this is Matthew Stafford, if this is even like what's his name in Chargers,
Justin Herbert, like you're talking about MVP. This guy's going for the MVP. He's a favorite, right? Like Baker's been playing out of his mind too, and we talk about him as well. But Dak, again, this is the reason why they signed him to an extension. And yeah, you could throw the playoff losses in his face and as to why they shouldn't have re-signed him. But look at what he's doing in a 4-game span: 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, no interceptions, only 2 wins to show for it. Sure, but at least he's playing tough, man. At least he's going up against the Packers and going into overtime. And yes, it was a tie, but you got him beating the Commanders by 22 points and scoring 44 in the process. Like, it's going to take some time for this defense to really get up to the level, but the offense right now is looking way better than what we saw last year. So got to give Dak his flowers for sure. And I'll leave it off with this. This is the best Dak has looked in a while. And we got to say, like, this isn't the first time, because, last week it was like Baker's the MVP, undisputed. Mm-hmm. And now look at 1 week later, it's like, it's got to be Dak. And I say that to say, like, the league changes so much in 1 week. Like, 1 week makes you go from this to this. I mean, next week, if Denver plays a good game and Cowboys don't score more than 13, like, Dak's going to go back to, where he's at. And then he comes out of it if he wins the next 2 and beats Philly. Now he's the MVP again. So, like, we have to understand that Dak has played this good before. And we don't have to go back that far. Just 2 years ago, Dak Prescott came in second place in MVP voting. This is what he did. 61.5 completion percentage, first in the NFL. 1,338 passing yards, first. 73.5 PFF pass grade, first. 77.8 PFF offensive grade, second. This was under pressure, by the way. I forgot the biggest part about this. This is Dak Prescott under pressure in 2023, which was his last full season. 77.8 PFF offensive grade, 8.3 yards per attempt, 14 big time throws, 98.8 passer rating. This is all under pressure. It's either first or second in the NFL. And that's why he came in second place for MVP. Yet he didn't win it because they gave it to Lamar Jackson that year, I believe.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And then Josh Allen won it. Yeah.
Last year, yeah.
But yeah, Dak's kind of been in the shadow of all these, all of these other great quarterbacks. And in a year where Josh Allen looks okay and Lamar Jackson's not playing and Mahomes is all right, I think the answer is obvious. This has been a long time coming, but it's finally time for Dak Prescott to get his trophy.
There you go. If he continues the rest of the season the way he's been playing the last 4 games, I have zero argument for that, like against him winning the MVP. And if he's able to win the division, if he's able to come out with a winning record at the end of the year and, propels the Cowboys into a playoff matchup, I think you are looking at an MVP, because how many times have we talked about Josh Allen doing everything he possibly can in his power to get his team a win, a division win, and a playoff win? Several times. He is the MVP, maybe not always necessarily of the league, but he's always the MVP of his team. It seems like Dak is definitely playing like that this year. And again, if he's checking all these boxes at the end of the year, it's like we got a playoff, we got a possible first round bye for the best team in the NFC, and we win our division, something like that. I think you're going to see an MVP trophy in his hands during the offseason for sure.
And the last thing I'll say, since this is about the Cowboys and not just Dak, is the trade deadline is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And now, what if the Cowboys, who just acquired, now they have 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years. So whatever you feel about Dallas now, they're about to get better and better with bringing in an Aiden Hutchinson and a Jared Verse type player. But what if they take one of those first-round draft picks and say, find a team that's not a contender? Now, let's go with Max Crosby and say, hey, like, what the way Dak's playing, do we really want to flush this down the toilet with the parity across the league?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could be that only team that could really separate ourselves from the pack, but we got to get better defensively. Do we want to waste it?
Yep.
I think taking one of those first round picks, maybe a second, and like a Tyler Booker, right? One of their guards and send them, because the Raiders need a guard, and then send it on a package and get somebody like Max Crosby. What would you think about the Cowboys if Max Crosby, like Blockbuster trade Max Crosby as a Cowboy? What do we think of the Cowboys?
Immediate contenders, and especially again if they are above 500 in 2 weeks when the trade deadline is going to take effect, and they bring in a Max Crosby, immediate contenders, and also basically doing what we were hoping the Bengals were going to do last year when Joe Burrow was playing out of his fucking mind, was like, okay, can we get the defense at the same level here? But the difference is the Bengals owners don't want to spend money. Jerry Jones will spend the money if it means he gets to see a possible Super Bowl type of run from the Dallas Cowboys. I think he'll do it. I think Jerry is going to be one of those guys that it's like, yeah, let's give up one of our first rounds for a guy that can bring this defense up another level and possibly get us into a playoff.
Yeah, and of course there's going to be a ton of people saying, well, why would they do that if they weren't willing to pay Micah Parsons? But remember, Micah Parsons was paid, what was it, $147 million?
Mm-hmm.
Max Crosby's being paid $35 million a year. And and that means that you're going to pay somebody less. And on top of that, you're getting an extra draft pick if you only use one from Green Bay, because you have their 2027 draft pick as well. So like the Cowboys still come out on top by trading Micah Parsons, which I will go to the grave saying that was the right move. For where the Cowboys are at, it was the right move. And for where Green Bay's at, it was the right move. But people are hating on Jerry for that move still. It's like, why would they do that when they could just go with what they already had? But I mean, look how much they got for Micah, and look at how Green Bay's looked lately. Not great,
Not great. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed the second week of NFL Breakfast Club with us here. We had Ginger, Lil E in the chat. Appreciate you guys being here earlier than what we normally would do for a stream. So we appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Subscribe on YouTube, Only Football. If you're watching us through NFL with Kyle, subscribe to NFL with X. Go follow us at NFL with Kyle and at Only Football Pod. Again, we appreciate everybody that was here, and even the lovely background music that Kyle's playing for us right now. We appreciate everything that you guys have done for us on this channel, in the comments, with the likes, with the interactions. We appreciate it all. So thank you guys so much. This is always for Bill. For Bill. Long live Bill. We love you, Bill. Always miss you every single day. So Kyle, great job, brother. And always a good time.
Always a good time.